As long as the wind shall blow, as long as the grass shall grow, as long as the streams shall flow, as long as the sun shall glow, this land shall be the Indian. As long as the birds shall sing, as long as the black bear dreams, as long as the mountains ring with life, every brand new spring, this land shall be the Indian. As long as the last star shines, as far as the end of time, as long as the sunflower tries to touch and embrace the sky, this land shall be the Indian. As long as the wildest rain falls down on the driest plain and fills every river vein and rolls to the sea again, this land shall be the land I love. As long as the buffalo appear in a dream of snow, like gods moving stately slow, and go where the rainbows go, this land shall be the Indian. Good morning, welcome to Community Church. I open with a song, a poem written by a wonderful friend of mine named Tom Pacheco, along with Roland Vargas Musa. Tom's one of my greatest songwriting inspirations, and I send greetings to you, Tom, if you're able to listen to me in Woodstock, New York, where you live. We celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day with acknowledgement that we are on land that used to be water, where the fishes swam and then was filled, but on the banks of that water, the Massachusetts fished and drank and swam. And there's still archaeological excavations that find fish weirs about the abundance of this place before it changed drastically in the last few hundred years. That's our sincere acknowledgement, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But just to open this morning, we welcome our magnificent friends, Magpie, Terry Leonino and Greg Artsner, who have joined us many times, both with concerts in this space, as well as various holiday concerts, and also these Sunday morning events where they join us virtually. Hello, Greg and Terry.
Hello, Dean. Hello, everyone.
So
Just
good to
will
be with
say
you all.
that these two have been doing social change and social justice music for over 50 years together, and I just never cease to be amazed by how wonderful it is to have them in our presence. They look so good and they sound so good, and we welcome them.
Thank you, Dean. So, before we sing, we will acknowledge as well. We happen to be right now in Norwich, Connecticut. And Norwich, Connecticut is historically the land of the Pequot, and over the course of many, many years and various different shifting alliances, the Mohegans, I think the Wampanoags were here too as well. Terry and I, though, we actually live over in Schoharie County, New York, which is the land of the Mohawk, and I've heard that some people say that you shouldn't acknowledge the history of the land and the people who lived on the land unless you're ready to give it back. Well, the fact of the matter is there are a whole lot of people in Schoharie County right now who are engaged in giving
Such
back
things.
in the very thing. They're giving back some of the land that has been stolen over the years. So anyway, we're going to start with a song that is a kind of a personal manifesto, and I guess sort of describes our attitude and our belief in regard to all of the issues that are connected with this day, with this celebration that we're having. The song is called "I Stand Before the Morning Sun." stand before the morning sun, dark night close behind, another day to live the hope, no longer running blind. I've seen the storm clouds coming, I've felt the cold hard rain, but when loving friends stand by me, I can rise up once again, I can rise up once again. I stand before the morning sun, the land bathed in new light, sparkling rivers and high mountains, on birds' wings my heart takes flight. I'll lend a hand to all I can, try to leave this world a better place. See all as my relations, beyond the human race, beyond the human race. I stand before the morning sun, in a land of promise born, the lies of stolen power I do behold with scorn. I vow to no master, defy false piety. My faith is in the living earth, that each day gives birth to me, each day gives birth to me. We stand before the morning sun, with others hand in hand. Our journey now has just begun. At crossroads now we stand, turning away from fool's treasure, each one to do our part. We find the wealth that matters is in each other's heart, is in each other's heart.
Thank you, Greg and Terry. That's a beautiful song, beautiful melody that I know you used as well for another gorgeous song that I sing constantly. It's called This Morning. This Morning I Am Born Again. And it's just wonderful to hear that same song, Woody Guthrie lyrics with your melody, and now with a new set of lyrics. That's really a wonderful thing.
Thank
And
you.
I've got another little poem. From Tierra del Fuego to Ungava Bay, the history of betrayal continues to today. The spirit of almighty voice, the ghost of anime, call like thunder from the mountains. You can hear them say, it's a stolen land. Apartheid in Arizona, slaughter in Brazil. If bullets don't get good PR, there's other ways to kill. Kidnap all the children, put them in a foreign system, bring them into no man's land where no one really wants them. In a stolen land, but it's all we've got. Stolen land, and there's no going back. Stolen land and we'll never forget. Stolen land and we're not through yet. In my mind I catch a picture, big black raven in the sky, looking at the ocean, sail reflected in black eye. Sail as white as heroin, white like weathered bones. Rum and guns and smallpox gonna change the face of home. In this stolen land, and it's all we've got. Stolen land, and there's no going back. Stolen land, and we'll never forget. Stolen land, and we're not through yet. If you're like me, you'd like to think we've learned from our mistakes, enough to know we can't play God with others' lives at stake. So now we've all discovered the world wasn't only made for whites. What step are you going to take to try and set things right in this stolen land? But it's all we've got. Stolen land, and there's no going back. Stolen land, and we'll never forget. Stolen land, and we're not through yet. Bruce Coburn. Amazing song. I want to take us next to Louis Randa, who is Louis Randa and the Peace Abbey were the winners of last year's Sacco and Vanzetti Award, a prize which we give once a year to a remarkable activist. Louis ran the Peace Abbey for quite a few years until it was a retreat center and kind of tribute to all religions and nationalities and tribute to the sacredness of animals. It was in Sherborne, and they closed because they couldn't pay their mortgage anymore, but they still are something strong in spirit. And Louis Randa comes up with all these amazing ideas, and this is the one that I'm thinking of a lot and that we've taken into our hearts as a family about the house that we own. And it's called Native Land Reparation. And here's what it says. To all whom it may concern, be it known that, and you put your name in there, residing at, and you put your address in there, respectfully pledge to donate 1% of the sale price of our home to the, and you put the name of the native people who lived in that place at that time, within whose ancestral land this property is located. I realize that the land, including the air, water, and biological life, is a natural relative to the tribe, and no amount of money can repay them for it having been wrongfully taken from them centuries ago. I intend to fulfill this sacred commitment embraced in the spirit of personal responsibility and reparation when the day comes to sell our home. Until then, I will continue to care for the land and its inhabitants with ecological integrity and respect, and will honor it as our natural relative, for we are stewards of all creation. Ultimately, the land belongs to Mother Earth. And then it has the signatures of the homeowners and the date. And you stick this right next to the title of your property, and that's what happens when the property changes hands. I really like this initiative by Louis Randa. And it's a start, and you can never repay and completely repair a damage like what the United States did to Native people, or like what Israel is doing to Gaza right now and to Lebanon. But you have to keep it at the top of your mind. So, a couple more things. I want to tell you that I'll show you my shirt. It's the beautiful work of Fernando J, based on Mesoamerican themes. Fernando developed an entire art style in El Salvador, a country where I visit frequently, and he's recently passed away, but his legacy is enormous right now. There in the airport, there's an enormous display of his paintings. We have another painting of Fernando's on our wall here. I also have this thing, which you might call a scarf. What do like real ministers, among which I'm not counted, call this I know that rabbis call it a tullus, and what's the stole is the other word for this thing you wear around here. But I wear it to remember in addition to staying warm, to remember the Palestinian people and not forget them, and forget that Palestine needs the world's attention more than ever. And we have a lot of programming coming up about that. December 6th, Mazen Kumsia, a favorite presenter of ours, will be here in person. Lives in Bethlehem, is the founder of the Palestine Museum of Natural History. He's a biologist and just a wonderful exponent of the culture and the plight in this present moment in time of the Palestinian people. And there's other programs as well. Check out our monthly JFK Memorial Speech virtual program that was supposed to have Jill Stein last Thursday, but she was not doing well, and we have to reschedule with Jill. But there are other programs in our newsletter. I hope you got our newsletter either physically in the mail, and it has a fundraising appeal, and we've got already a really wonderful, enormous response, and it went out on email as well, where you can either send a check or go to our website and use a PayPal or a credit card option. Other great programs coming up. Sabi Sabs is a really popular Boston-based podcaster. Sabrina Salvati is her real name. Sabi Sabs is coming October 27th. The Sunday before the election, we have a reprise of a play that we read this summer. It's called "It Can't Happen Here," a play by Sinclair Lewis, and it'll be read by 5 different actors on November 3rd. It just so happens I was looking through our archives a couple of days ago and just picked out one of the yearbooks from 1936, and the same play was read in 1936 at Community Church of Boston in Symphony Hall, which is where we used to meet, if you can imagine that. There might have been 2,000 people hearing the likes of W.E.B. Du Bois or Sinclair Lewis or Robert Frost or Martin Luther King. And we're going to reprise, is that that two times, because it was read in 1936, it was read this summer, and we'll read it once more on November 3rd. Each one of these programs has different wonderful music, some of it live here and some of it brought in by the likes of Terry and Greg virtually. Another really amazing program to mention is Richard Wolff, who's joining us November 10th in the aftermath of whatever it is that happens on Election Day, and I'm sure he'll have astute reflection. Richard Wolff, we call him our Taylor Swift. One of his videos on our YouTube channel has over 1 million views. Economist, radical Marxist economist, and we love having him again, and he's become a regular on our programming, and we hope Richard can join us here live in person one of these days. Anyway, more programs like that. I want to tell you, in the form of just going through some books that have come into our view recently. This one is called Visualizing Palestine, and it's a magnificent work of a lot of different graphic artists who do work around showing in graphic terms, tables, charts, artwork, the situation of Palestine. The group is called Visualizing Palestine. They were going to have a program here, but it turned out that it became too big, and they have moved it to First Church in Cambridge, First Parish, UU in Cambridge, right there in the middle, Church Street and Mass Ave. And that's November 14th. And it's also a book release party for a book that's called Solidarity is the Political Version of Love, that's written by 2 of the founders of Jewish Voice for Peace, Rebecca Vilkomerson and Alyssa Wise. That's November 14th, so that should be a really, it's a Thursday, magnificent, interesting program. I know that I'll be there. That's the first one. The next one is called Francis Perkins, Champion of American Workers. And this is written by Ruth Monzel. It's a biography of Frances Perkins. This is next Sunday. And we have the co-sponsorship of several different labor unions who will hopefully join us to hear Frances. She lives in Maine and will be joining us in person right here, Ruth Cashin Monzel, to talk about her biography of Frances Perkins. Frances's ancestral home is in Damariscotta, Maine, and we're hoping that also her grandson will be able to join us. If you don't know, she's the best kept secret in all of American history. She was the first woman cabinet member, and it was under the FDR New Deal administration, and she is single-handedly responsible for welfare, Social Security, unemployment insurance, workers' compensation, and the list goes on. OSHA, it's a really amazing public servant who served without much recognition at all. And we'll hear more about her next Sunday. And the musician that day is Bev Grant, who sings about Frances Perkins and about other women's issues. We have some more books that have come by somebody. I haven't gotten a date from her, an exact date, but it will be in February, celebrating W.E.B. Du Bois and the fact that he spoke here many times. And Kelly Carter Jackson is her name, and the book is called "We Refuse: A Forceful History of Black Resistance." And she's a really wonderful professor at Wellesley, and will be joining us on one Sunday, we're not sure exactly which one, in February for the W.E.B. Du Bois address. Anya Parampil. I'm really enjoying this book. It's about what the United States sanctions have done to Venezuela. It's called Corporate Coup, Venezuela and the End of U.S. Empire. And the way that the Citgo Corporation has been basically taken away from the country of Venezuela as a principal source of their livelihood. Christopher Nill, Walking with Evaristo. These are speakers who will be joining us soon, not scheduled yet. A memory of celebration and tragedy in the land of the Achi Maya. Christian Nill was a Peace Corps volunteer in Guatemala during the early 80s when the genocide of highland native people happened in Guatemala. Enough. Let's hear from Magpie again. A couple of songs maybe, Terry and Greg? Thank you so much for being with us from a hotel room in Connecticut.
We're thrilled to be
more
here.
than happy to be here. Yes, so we'll do a song that we wrote several years ago. You know, over the years, Terry and I have done a lot of support work for various different causes in our First Nations. Among our First Nations, we worked with the Medicine Wheel Coalition, trying to protect the sacred sites in the Rocky Mountain states, particularly the Bighorn Medicine Wheel. We were working with the Dakota and the whole coalition there.
The Cheyenne, there were several tribes involved.
And then we got involved with the Diné, who came to Washington, D.C. to, I guess you could say, petition for a redress of grievance, which was, in their case, fracking in the bedrock out there in New Mexico and Arizona, which of course is radioactive. And fracking is pretty bad news pretty much everywhere, but there it's particularly bad news. So they came and
they worked with our friend who was a lawyer, and Diane said, "Would you come to dinner?" And the elders wanted to speak to you about something. And this was like way early 90s.
Yeah, it was before fracking became trendy.
Yes, before fracking was trendy. And one of the elders said something that we hear every day now: water is life.
Water is life.
And so if you feel like singing along, please do.
We have discovered, of course, that water is a whole lot more than just life.
Yes.
And lately we've been made aware of exactly how dangerous
powerful.
and how powerful water can be. But it is true. Mini Wichoni. Water is life. And this is the song that we wrote for them.
Okay. Oh, yes. Thank you. Wait a minute, give me your.
Sorry about the tuning. It'll be better, I promise.
You'll enjoy it more. Oh, give me your G. I think it's the humidity. Okay, let's try it again.
Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Sing it with us. Sing it with us. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Standing on this rocky shore, something holds my eye. On that perfect far distant line, where water meets the sky. I don't need a mighty ship sailing across the sea. 4 fathoms deep within I know what you mean to me. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Out on the wide Pacific, under the sun's relentless glow, your waters rise up to the skies, where western winds will blow. Those clouds enshroud my mountaintop, feed the forests with their rain. Then it runs down to the rivers and back home to you again. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Oh, water is life. See those harmonies? Mother Ocean nourishes me at the edge of the sea.
Water is life.
water is life. Water is life. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Everything I am, everything I need, I know it's true, it comes from you. Water is the seed, little Mother Ocean planet in a universe so wide. We've got to rise up like the moon and try to turn the tide. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. Water is life. Mother Ocean nourishes me at full moonlight tide at the edge of the sea. Water is life. 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 Water is life.
Thank you.
What are you gonna do, Miss Terry?
I don't know.
You wanna do
Pete?
that's if you wanna do that, that'd be fine.
Well, you know, we love our late friend Pete Seeger, and he always says some of the most amazing things in songs. And this is one that he wrote about all of us and about the earth. You know, he was one of the first people to start an environmental festival. There were all kinds of festivals, but Pete said, we need to honor the earth. And he really cherished that book by Rachel Carson. And that's what inspired him to start cleaning up the Hudson River. And we just love this song. And you can help me sing it in sign language if you like. So of course we need the sky, we need the ocean, we need the earth. This is called Rainbow Race. Get your people.
One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, one earth so green and round. Who could ask for more? Who could ask for more? And because I love you, and because I love you, I'll give it one more try. I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. Some folks wanna be like an ostrich and bury their heads in the sand.
Some folks hope that plastic dreams can unclench all these greedy hands.
Some folks wanna take the easy way, poisons, bombs, they think we need 'em.
Don't you know you can't kill all the unbelievers? There's no shortcut to freedom.
One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more?
children, tell all the mothers and fathers too.
Now's our last chance to learn to share what's been given to me and you.
One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more?
Terry and Greg, you fill our hearts with inspiration. Thank
And
you.
you did do the same for us.
The proudest thing that I like to talk about, having been able to do at Community Church, is present music and art. And this morning is no exception. I want to, just as introduction to Robert, tell you a couple of things. First of all, that both Robert and I will be tomorrow at the Indigenous Peoples Day celebration that happens in Newton. It's a really wonderful, really well-organized all-day powwow celebration, and it has a whole lot of really interesting vendors, Robert and myself included. I will be there selling Maya fabric made into beautiful, all kinds of beautiful items by a women's co-op in El Salvador. In other words, Asociación Maya is the weavers in Guatemala, and the Teocinte Cooperative in El Salvador. And I get to present them, as well as coffee from another village in El Salvador that I will have as well. I will also have quite a selection of Palestine items. We have this association, friendship, with Olive Branch Fair Trade that's located in Martha's Vineyard. It's Linda Cohen. Her shop sells all Palestinian gifts and products. We have keffiyehs from Hebron, that very embattled city in the West Bank. We have wood-carved items. We have some items from this artist. Her name is Katie Miranda Elal. She mostly works in jewelry, silver jewelry with beautiful Arabic calligraphy on it. She also did this image, which is, to me, one of the most moving things I ever saw. It's a Pietà, but it's a guy with who's coming off the cross or coming off recently being killed. He's in his mother's arm. He has a keffiyeh and his mother has hijab. And it's a reminder that Jesus was Palestinian. Don't you forget that. And he was Jewish too. Don't you forget that either. Katie Miranda Elal, she will be one of the items for sale at that Newton. It's in Albemarle Park in Newton. It's an all-day celebration. We feature artists. Katie spoke one day with Bashara Nassar, who is the founder and director of the Palestine Museum, Museum of the Palestinian People in Washington, D.C. Another artist I'd like to feature especially and talk about is Anna Brones. She does woodcuts of women leaders, and this one was someone who spoke to us. Winona LaDuke, a couple of years ago, was with us, and this is a woodcut of her quote, which is, "Power is not brute force and money. Power is in your spirit. Power is in your soul. It is what your ancestors, your old people gave you. Power in the earth, it is only in our relationship to the earth. Winona LaDuke. Oh yeah, and that's how I bring us to our speaker this morning, who's a magnificent artist. We have, when Robert was last here, he left us this beautiful calendar. It's called 13 Moons, and it's just his artwork. You can't really see it if you're like most of you of us are online, but it's just these really gorgeous images in the form of a calendar. And come down and check out Robert's beautiful book, 13 Moons Calendar, Meditation on Indigenous Life, 13 acrylic paintings. And we're going to see more of Robert's artwork today. I happen to have, this is like Community Church of Dean show and tell. We just acquired this Palestine flag. It will be flying at my canopy tomorrow, Indigenous Peoples Day. And we have today another artist feature, like we've had both music and art features here at the church. I'll mention one more that's coming. December 1st, David Rovix has an entire concert here, and he will be here in person joining us. We drop everything every time David happens to be in town on his worldwide perpetual tour, David Rovix. But now I introduce you to talk about his new book, which we will see a lot of. It's called Big Baby, and I don't remember the rest of it, but Robert Peters, thank you so much for being with us this morning. It really is an honor to have you. Oh, and I'm going to put this in here. Yes. And get all of my show and tell out of the way. You want that stand there?
All right, thank you, Dean. Thank you for having me. Can you hear all right? And thank you for your support of First Nation people, indigenous rights. It's important, and the environment is important. Today I'm going to share a book I've written called Big Baby. It's about a giant baby. And the giant is a legend among Wampanoag people about Maushop. And Maushop was a land shaper and a provider. And he provided great estuaries where we could fish and fertile land for us to grow our crops on. He made Cape Cod. He made Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. Some people say he threw one moccasin one way and another the other, and that's how these islands came about. And he laid stepping stones in the water so we could pass back and forth. And the way this story came to me is interesting because it all started leading up to the pandemic. In the months before the pandemic arrived, seemingly unrelated things began to happen. Like one, AC Moore was going out of business. And I went there, I'm an artist, so I went there to see what I could find, that would be at a discounted price. And I started experimenting with gel pens. And I had never used them before, and I liked the way they felt, I liked the way they blended. So I bought a set of 100. And I quickly realized that you could use all of the ink in one pen on one small drawing. So I went back and bought 4 more sets of 100. And this is in December of 2019. And at the same time, I was promoting my 13 Moons calendar, and I had planned a trip to an Indian social in New York, on Manhattan. And the week before I was going to go down there, my mother, who was in end stages of Alzheimer's, became ill. And they sent her home from the hospital, and she could no longer swallow, and she was no longer conscious. And we were just basically keeping her comfortable. So I had canceled my trip to New York. But as it approached, she was still very strong. She was hanging in there. So I decided to go down for one day. And I drove down to New York, and I met indigenous people, just like indigenous people here. It was like they were the same people, but they were different. And I met a lot of people, and I was welcomed. The guy who brought me down was a man named Kevin Tarrant, and Kevin introduced me to everybody down there. I had a wonderful time, and at the end of the day, I went back, and my mother passed about 4 or 5 days later. And about this time, we started hearing stories about this virus and people dying, and it was in China, and then it was in California, and then it was in New York. And I got news that the man who invited me down to New York, Kevin Tarrant, had passed from the virus. So by March, it became so serious, and there were so many people dying from this, that they shut the world down. About March 17th, they shut the world down. And in the first days where everything was shut down, there were no cars on the street, there were no planes in the sky, there was nothing. And everybody was in the house, and it was like a ghost town. So I started riding my bike down the Neponsett River, and every time I passed this one spot, I got a vision of a giant baby sleeping in the reeds. And after getting this feeling about 3 times, I decided to start drawing it. And I went home and drew it with the gel pens that I had bought. And it turned out that I spent the next 3 months doing nothing but drawing pictures of this giant baby. And that's how this story came about. And I think it is really interesting that Maushop, the provider for us, came back as a baby that we needed to take care of and provide for. And I tell the story in this book. So I believe we have a PowerPoint of that can go up. Okay. Can we start with the first page? Big baby. Yeah. Trying to get the right page up. A little technical difficulty.
That was the first one.
Okay, we can go to the next one. Next one. Ah, there we are. There we are. The midwife knew Maushop would be a big baby. Maushop was the biggest baby anyone had ever seen. He loved being held, but after only a week of growing, his father had trouble lifting him. Maushop kept getting bigger and bigger. In no time at all, Maushop grew too big to fit through the door. The bigger he got, the harder it became to feed him. When he was hungry, he cried so woefully that the crows flew around the village and cawed along with him, creating an even greater commotion. Everyone in the village met and pledged their help. The nursing mothers offered some of their milk. The hunters and fishermen agreed to bring home more meat and more fish, all to meet the needs to raise such a big baby. Oh, that's the wrong one. Everyone loved Maushop. His grandfather introduced him to the animals, all the animals, birds and fish, and they loved Maushop too. The baby whales loved to splash with him, and the geese would fly over just to get a bird's eye view look at that big baby. Yeah. You can just go to the next one. Sorry. The next one. All right, here we go. Maushop loved crowing with the crows. He became a regular voice when the Council of Crows met every morning just after sunrise. When he was too big for the biggest we two, it was the crows who showed him how to make a nest in the reeds. One day, a rival tribe planned to raid his village. They crept silently through the woods and were about to attack. When Maushop stood up, the raiders took one look at the giant baby and ran away. Oh, that's out of order too. Oh, okay. Okay, we can go to that. There was one whale who didn't like Maushop one bit. He taunted Maushop and tricked him into wading into deep water before picking a fight. Grandmother Moon and the spirits of the land, sky, and sea watched the whale thrashing and tossing poor Maushop mercilessly in the water. You can see all the spirits there in the water. The beating the whale gave Maushop made Grandmother Moon very upset. She sent the spirits of the land, sky, and sea on beams of moonlight and chased the mean whale into the deepest water. Okay, that's fine. When the people told him the waters were rising and coming between them, separating families, clans, and tribes with great crossings, Maushop laid stepping stones in the water so the people could easily cross back and forth. Grandmother Moon couldn't always be around to rescue Maushop from the whale. through the cycles of countless seasons, there would be many more fights until it became no fight at all. If you don't believe in him, go to the water and watch the fog roll in. That is Maushop smoking his pipe. The end. Thank you. Yeah, I remember being down at the bay, and one of the elders saying, watching the fog come in and say, "That's Maushop." And if you Google it, you'll find stories about Maushop online. And I believe that Maushop was the glacier. And it's evidence that we have stories about him is evidence that we were here 10,000 years ago to witness the glaciers. And all cultures that witness the glaciers have stories of giants. And you look at England, and the glaciers formed the English Channel. So they were people who witnessed the glaciers, and they have all sorts of stories about giants. There's a giant out in Western Mass named Hobbamock, and there was a giant beaver, and the beaver made a dam which created a lake in the middle of the Connecticut River that went halfway through Vermont, all the way through Massachusetts, and halfway through Connecticut. And it just flooded all that land. And Hobbamock fought with the beaver and finally broke the beaver's neck. And there are hills in Deerfield, Mass, that are supposedly the beaver's broken neck, that you can see. So these are all stories about how the land was shaped and created, and how our giants played a role in doing in making things the way they are today. And I feel honored that the story of Maushop came to me during the pandemic, and that I can share it with you now. So thank you for having me, Dean.
That's great. Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
Big Baby. We have some copies of it here, and we will also have some. Robert will have some tomorrow at Indigenous Peoples Day in Newton, I'm sure, and we'll be able to talk more about Big Baby after we hear once more from our friends Magpie, Terry and Greg. First, I will tell you again, I mentioned it before, but thank you for all the response to the fundraising letter that we sent out, both by U.S. mail and by email. And we hope that you, if you haven't gotten around to it, that you will keep on responding. We are in dire need. We still have a restaurant space in the first floor that is vacant, but we are very confident that we're about to sign a lease with a new place, and you'll hear more about that as time passes here. So thank you, and there is a basket back there as well if you are here and able to help us in any way you can. Thank you. And thank you, Magpie, for being with us.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, what a wonderful book.
Oh, I love that book. It's beautiful.
And your illustrations are just wonderful.
And I love all the stories.
I'll send you a copy, Terry and Greg.
Oh, we'd love that.
Oh, that would be so precious. Well, and thank you for inviting us to be part of this day. So we'd like you all to help us sing again if you have a chance to. Make sure I'm right here.
So this is a song that we wrote quite a few years ago, back in, 30 years ago now, in the 1990s, early 1990s sometime. And right around the time that we were doing all that support work that we were talking about, you know, there was a fellow out in, I think he was in Washington State, teacher who, I guess he had been trying to teach some of the principles of stewardship that were ensconced in oratory and tradition among native tribes all over the country. And of course, being out there, he went directly to Seattle and some of the others, Joseph and the other leaders out there. He didn't find exactly what he wanted. I don't know exactly what he was looking for, but I guess this is what he was looking for. This is the idea that we don't own the earth. The earth, in fact, is what it is that we belong to the earth. The earth is, we are dependent upon the earth like a baby.
Like a big baby.
And so this is a song that we wrote based on the words, what was that fellow's name? I can't remember the teacher's name, Ted something.
Yes.
We belong to the earth. So that's our chorus. We belong to the earth. We all belong to the earth. It's not that she belongs to us. It's we belong to her. Sing the chorus with us. Here we go.
We all belong to our spirits take flight. We lay our bodies down, our ashes may be carried away on the wind, but return to the birthing ground. Return to the birthing ground. We belong to the earth. We all belong to the earth. It's not that she belongs to us, 'cause we belong to her. We belong to her. It's not that she belongs to us. It's we belong to her. We belong to her.
It's just so beautiful, and thank you for
you.
joining us, Magpie, and Robert too. Robert Peters, Big Baby is the name of the book, and we will have it in our library amongst all the other children's books, and have it featured for grown-ups to see on the table too. I want to mention a couple things before we go into a conversation with Robert. First thing is just to remember in our thoughts and prayers two members who are in a delicate place. One is Judith Woodruff, one of our board members, who has had a stroke, and we hope the best for Judith and her beautiful family, who have been members of Community Church since the late 70s. David Woodruff, her husband. I also want to send our thoughts and prayers out to Dick Crowley, who just had a surgery as well, and hopefully is back in his rehab place and in Ayer. If either of you want to know how to reach either of those folks, let me know, and I'd be glad to make that arrangement, and maybe even go visit either one of them with you. Judith is at Hebrew Rehab right there in Roslindale, and Dick is in Ayer, Massachusetts. So if there's anybody else that you would like us to remember and send healing thoughts to, please be in touch and let us know, and we will mention them in our Sunday morning program. It struck me that today we have a kid's book. It looks like it's a self-published book. Is that right, Robert? Congratulations for that effort in self-publishing. And next week we have Ruth Monzell's book is actually a young adult book, which means that you can read it more quickly than a big fat biography loaded with footnotes and all kind of stuff, but it has all the great essentials, and we have a lot of young adult books here at the church, including a whole set of African American books, like biographies about African American topics. And we welcome you to come here and check out our disorganized array of books. Right now we're going through Bob Datilio's books. We inherited a mountain of them from him. If we hadn't have taken 15 trips from his house in Medford to here with his books, they would have gone in the dumpster. And now we are both blessed and stuck with these books, and we're going through them and trying to discern which ones to keep and which ones to send to prisoners. And I say that to mention Calvin Airy, who's with us this morning, who has become just a vibrant member of Community Church, and whose life effort is giving prisoners a new outlook by the vehicle of books in their hands. And I just appreciate that. And Calvin has also suggested some wonderful speakers that we will be hearing from in the early 2025 season. Robert, I think when this first came up, I thought of baby Moses in the reeds. In a basket, left there for whatever reason, and found by the king of Egypt's wife, right, and was raised out of the same place. Became a prophet of sorts, and Maushop is sort of a prophet to the Wampanoag. And afterwards, I'd love to share with you a song that my friend Dylan Buston wrote, and it's about the giant on the gay head, which is Maushop. And I recorded it like 25 years ago, and I couldn't come up with it right now, but I'll find it and play it for you. It's called "In the Old Days." Any of you could go on YouTube and find it. "In the Old Days," Dean Stevens. It's a beautiful song, and I played guitar way better than I could ever play it now back then. So let's have a little bit of a conversation with Robert, and after that we will have a beautiful luncheon that has been prepared by Luis Guzman, our magnificent Salvadoran cook and janitor of many, many years. Is there anyone who wants to say hello to Robert, or ask a question or make a comment? Sure, that'd probably be best for... something like that.
Okay.
So exactly who is Maushop? Can you compare Maushop to God, the creator, or is Maushop just a unusual character who appeared and did supernatural things and helped the people?
Well, I would say he's a part of our creation story, being the land shaper. And another part of it is that the continent of the United States is considered Turtle Island. And we're all riding on the back of a turtle. And I find that very interesting because geologists say that the continents are moving very slowly, like a turtle. But Maushop shaped this land here that we're on, and he was a provider. He was looked at as a provider for us. So in that respect, it's not like he's God or anything, but he's part of our creation story.
And is this a part of the story that's for all of the Wampanoag, or just a part of them, or for other nearby tribes?
Well, he's embraced by a lot of people. He actually lived near Gay Head, and so he's more closely related to the Aquina tribe as far as the cliffs at Gay Head, where they have the colored clay, were created when Maushop was fighting with a whale, and he beat the whale against the cliffs, and that's where all the colors came from. I didn't put that in the book, but I do have pictures of the cliffs in there without the colors because that didn't happen yet.
Okay, so I've got to recite to you the beginning of this song that I'm telling you about. The song's written by Dylan Buston, who is a really magnificent teller of tales and writer of historical songs, and he wrote a whole piece about Martha's Vineyards, and each song is a story from Martha's Vineyard, and this one. It's called In the Old Days, and I'll recite what I remember of it. In the old days, I've heard it said, a giant lived on the Gay Head, and he slew the whale when he wished to eat, burning up the forest to smoke its meat. He taught my people to hunt and fish, the whales and the clamshell dish, the beans and the corn. The elders say that the raven brings in sacred stories that my children love to dance and sing. I should have relearned this song for today because it's, and the chorus goes, Numanatum towash nekosian. Oh my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And it's basically a story of what happened to the people on the Gay Head when the English arrived. And it's beautiful. This set of songs by Dylan Buston is called Tide Book. And Dylan is now retired, lives up in Maine, and that was I was part of his cast when we performed it on Martha's Vineyard, and that's one of many songs about different characters on the vineyard. And I'll tell you one more little story, Robert, about the Gay Head. The Gay Head, the beach there and the cliffs. My wife and I were married in 1989, and there was sort of a, like in a wedding ceremony, the priest says, if there's anyone who has any objection to this, please speak now or hold forever your peace, or something like that. Anyway, somebody during the reception, somebody said that from the stage, and my friends just jokingly said, "We do." And what it was a party we had on that beach, and we were all clothless, let's say, with a lot of clay. I don't think they even let you do that anymore because of. Yeah. Well, it's good it happened 25 years ago and not now. So anyway, maybe you could tell us about sort of more about what's going on with the tribe and with Aquinnah and with Mashpee, and just as far as information about what's going on. I'm sure folks can learn a lot more tomorrow at Indigenous Peoples Day.
Well, Mashpee and Aquinnah are working together on a number of things. And one thing that kind of pulls us here in Boston together with some of that is they have the Land Conservancy, and people have donated land back to indigenous people, and they either are given the land outright or enter into cultural respect easements, where we can have cultural use of that land. And we're trying to develop something here in Boston where we have cultural space in Boston. We had for over 40 years space we used at the Indian Center on South Huntington Ave. And that was sold and developed into a 17-story building. So we no longer have the land that we did our cultural events here in Boston, we'd have powwows and sweat lodges and medicine fires. No, the land is the building is there. We still have usage of the building, and I think it's important because the building used to be a detention center for young people. Not much unlike the boarding schools that are so prominent with Native Americans of my parents' generation. They would send young Native children to boarding schools to unindoctrinate them from their culture. So I think it's important that we maintain that space. And it's a very sad, if you're ever in there alone at night, you can feel the sadness of the building. And it's almost like you need indigenous people there to care for that energy that remains. In fact, we got the building because they had locked one of the girls into her room, and she got mad because it was an all-girls detention center, and she. There were Native people who were there. It wasn't exclusively for Natives. It wasn't, in that respect, it wasn't like the boarding schools where they would just round up.
Juvenile facility of some kind.
Yeah. So the girl set her mattress on fire, and they closed the school. And about 5 years later, they gave the building to the Indians. So that's how we got the center, through that act of defiance.
How long ago was that?
1968 or something like that. Yeah, we've been in the building about 50 years. Yeah, so.
And you're saying that the building's going to be developed?
No, the land that was with it, there was like an acre and a half of land, or a couple of acres of land that were with it, that we used for more than 40 years. And now, so we're trying to work with the city about getting the usage of land here in Boston, maybe Franklin Park, and having it so we can have our cultural and ceremonial and community usage of the land.
That I've never heard the story of that place. I go by there all the time on my way in and out of here, and I know it's there. And we've also had Jean-Luc speak here as well, and I've always wanted to find out more and connect with. We have received a grant for this building that is from the city of Boston we got a new roof, and we're hoping for another grant hold on a second, I'm just taking care of another little building item here. There you go. Thanks, Bob. Another little building item, which is our facade. We're hoping for a sizable grant. It's called CPA, Community Protection Act. Basically, everybody pays a little bit on their real estate tax bill every quarter. And I was thinking, boy, that NICOB would be a place that would be very suitable and very worthy for grants of that sort that other churches around here receive as well. So it's just a starting point. Want to ask you about the Cape Ann Museum. I was up there recently because our publications director named Crystal Rollins Jackson is also a magnificent artist, not only a visual artist, but also quilting artist. And she's part of a guild that's called Sisters in Stitches, joined by the Cloth. I hope I got that title right, Crystal. I just like the first part, Sisters in Stitches. They get together and quilt and laugh, right? In stitches. But they did a really marvelous exhibition, and I don't know if you saw that exhibition, but it's about slavery in Cape Ann and Gloucester in particular, and it's in the form of a lot of research that they did, and they put it into these quilts that are made on sailcloth. Enormous sails, like to celebrate the maritime history of Gloucester. And we went to an event there, Jerry Kaplan, our archivist, and I, and heard them talk about the making of this exhibition, which was up for about 3 months. It's all these big sails that are planted in the green outside of the museum. Also, on that same green, there's a beautiful structure that's a shelter that looks like a yurt, or what's the name it's called a Witu. You mentioned Witu in your talk. Yeah, and I wonder if you might tell us about that installation and about Witus.
Well, that's a mixture of our traditional building and contemporary art, and we have the frame of the traditional building, but rather than cover it with bark, we filled the spaces with images of people in a stomp dance, of indigenous people, and some in traditional clothes, but some, dressed contemporary, to show us, not just traditionally, but also, how we are in society today. I did the drawings, but my nephew was instrumental in, taking that and translating it to all of the spaces on the Witu, and each space is a different shape. So it was quite an undertaking to do that. I'm not sure exactly how they came up with it, but they had to take imaging of the whole space in order to be able to get the shapes and get the images printed. But it's beautiful, and it has a layer of water, a layer of people of dancing, and then a layer of the sky and some of the birds in the sky. So yeah.
It's magnificent. And is it going to be there for a while, or is it?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure.
Installation.
I'm not sure how long the images will be there. They could. The cedar poles will last a lot longer than the images. They could eventually put bark over it, like the traditional structures were. I don't know what the future is for it, but the images are still up there now. And when you come into Gloucester, that rotary, you can see it from the rotary.
Well, unless there's somebody on the Zoom that wants to say hello, we're going to declare the meeting at the building to be over, and wish you a happy week, and admonish you to do good work and get into good trouble. And come see us next Sunday. We have a program about Francis Perkins, and if you haven't gotten a copy of our newsletter, we can either send it to you in the mail or email it to you. And we just thank you for joining us today. Thank Magpie. I hope that we were able to embellish your hotel room with our space as you did from your hotel room with your music and your elegance, grace, and style. if you're still there, Magpie, Terry and Greg, thank you so much. And we thank Robert for joining us this morning and sharing about Big Baby. And we'll be seeing you all soon. And luncheon is waiting for us. Thank you, Luis Guzman. And thank you, Amar Ahmad, for your technical support.